It's Thursday night. You know what that means. It's time for Magic and Martinis. Please welcome your host, Scott Wells.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to the 20th consecutive episode that we've been having here of our virtual happy hour. I know that a lot of you are at home, and there is a lot of content that's out there, whether you're watching lectures, you're attending Zoom meetings for your local magic club, or visiting with your family, or all kinds of things that are happening out there, plus my weekly podcasts that just keep coming every week, every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. So I thank you guys very much for tuning in and spending a little bit of time here. The idea is for us to get together and actually chat with each other and say hello to friends around the world. And let's see. I want to see what everybody's drinking over here. I see that John Maluski is here, and that he is saying he's drinking Bobbing for Apples from Zed's Beer. Okay, that's great. Thank you, John. That's great. And I'm so glad we got a lot of people who are joining us then over there. And we've got, as you saw, that the reason you're coming here is because we have a lot of really great guests who are going to be joining us here then this evening with some wonderful stories. And I know that you guys are going to enjoy this then as well. So I tell you, let me move over here for just a second, and let me introduce our first guest. And this is going to be someone who I know that you have seen, someone well, you should have seen. He's someone who's been working for a while with Johnny Thompson. He's been doing trade shows. He's a corporate magician, someone who has been working at a casino up in Oklahoma for quite some time, and does some fantastic mentalism. As I said, he and Johnny Thompson were as close as an olive is to a martini. What can I say? Let me give you a little bit of a background about him just by letting you enjoy this video we're going to watch then right now. And let me see if I can get this queued up. Here we go. This is just a short little vignette so you get to see him performing.
We're going to take this fantasy vacation, and you folks are going to make all of the choices this evening. I will have nothing to do with it. All right? 1, 2, 3. Hawaii. We've got some people sitting right back over here. Todd, it's up to you for this entire group to tell us not where we're going, but when we are going. August 26, 2020. I don't even want you to think about it. The first thing that pops into your mind, Shelley. 1, 2, 3. Kevin Costner. Your husband's whole body just slumped down like that. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. A dream catcher? Yes. Well, there you go. Okay. How much is that dream catcher going to cost? 1, 2, 3. And we've got some information inside, hermetically sealed inside this. Would you take that out, please, sir? Thank you so much. This is the information that I placed there earlier this evening, about an hour and a half before the show ever even started. Are you ready? Tonight, we will plan a fantasy vacation to beautiful Hawaii. Seated next to you on the plane is Kevin Costner. While you are there, you will buy a souvenir, a dream catcher. The dream catcher for the amazing price of $5. But the great part of it is we will depart on the fantasy vacation August the 26th, 2020, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great trip. Give them all a big round of applause, all 5 of them for me, if you will. Awesome job.
There he is. There's my friend, Mr. David McGee. Hey, Dave, how are you, man?
I am wonderful. I had all my hair. I had a goatee. God.
What good times
Wow,
those
I'm
were.
telling you, yes, they were. It's a good time that I bought that hair from Johnny's lot that I bought on that auction. So I need to go put it on tonight.
Well, he would always flip that all the way over, isn't that right?
It. But it was a hair piece. It was not a rug. He would tell you that.
That was his real hair, but in the morning, I'm sure it was just like on his shoulder, right?
Yes. I'll tell you a great story later.
Okay, we're going to get to that. We got a lot of great stuff we're going to be talking about over here then too. So let me now introduce someone else. Johnny Thompson, of course, was in Las Vegas. We're going to be now joined by someone else who is a Las Vegas star, who is a diva of magic. If I can get this over here, please watch. Then this video will tell you something about. And so there she is, Ariane Black. Hey, Ariane.
Hey.
Cheers to you.
Cheers to you too, and to Dave.
I see that you're drinking from a Canadian cup.
I am.
Yes. And so you are up in Victoria. Is that right? You're not in Las Vegas right now.
I am not in Las Vegas. I'm on Vancouver Island. I'm just north of Victoria. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about some of the stuff that you're doing because I think it's kind of cool, the going out kayaking and the nature photography and everything else you're doing. I just think is really pretty cool. Pretty darn cool.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. And you know what's funny is that video at the end, it says the Giordano Theater.
Yes.
So that version of the show didn't open because he went to jail.
Wait a minute.
It's a great story. You know what? He was accused of murder. So it's a great story.
Okay, so I've got a feeling that we're probably going to need to get into this a little bit more than two. Let me get my other guest out over here then real quickly. Someone who is the past international president of the International Brotherhood of Magicians, and someone who is a recent guest of mine then on the Magic Word podcast. And so if you will, please, I want you to take a watch of this video. There he is. I mean, welcome, my friend, Mr. Oscar Munoz.
How
Hey,
you guys
Oscar.
doing? How you guys doing? I'm so sorry. I don't drink anymore.
Or any less. Cheers to everybody. What's everybody drinking tonight, by the way? What have you got there?
I got Coke. I
That's
don't
fine.
drink.
I like the martini glass. I like the keeping the theme, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dave, what do you got?
Hong Kong. I've got it's Vietnamese green tea. Arian's probably had Hong Kong.
I'm sure she has. She is in Arian's kitchen. She's always cooking something with something I've never heard of before. What are you drinking, Marianne?
I'm drinking chai tea.
Good. So I'm the only one who is the host is going to be drinking and probably asking some ridiculous questions before we're finished. All right. So let me, speaking of which, that you have been doing this for a while. That is that you've been doing the Marianne's Kitchen, Magic Kitchen, for a few months then right now. And a lot of stuff that you have on there have been vegetarian or vegetarian type of meals. Isn't that pretty much, I mean, non-meatless, I guess?
Yeah. We've done a couple chicken dishes, and this week we're doing a shrimp dish, but a lot of them have been, for whatever reason, vegetarian or not really vegan, because I still use milk products and some type of dairy or something like eggs and stuff, but it's just kind of worked out that way. Been trying to keep dishes really simple so that people can cook along with me, and
Sure.
For whatever reason, a lot of dishes that don't use meat are really super simple. I mean, it's easy to make a steak. You can put a steak on the grill, 2 minutes on one side, 2 minutes on the other side, it's done. I don't need to explain that.
That's pretty much true. But you use bok choy and different kinds of things then also, I know.
Yep. Yeah, but like last week, Joan Decor was with us, and she made bacon wrapped jalapeno peppers.
Wow,
And yeah,
and that was done in a deep fryer or in a
no, they were done in the oven.
mhm.
And so we have a couple of people that use air fryers, so I had the air fryer information for them. But yeah, she made them, wrapped them and then stuck them in the oven. And so I did ones that didn't have bacon because I never liked bacon. That's part of the issue is I never liked the taste of bacon. Just never did. So I don't like pork. And I never liked the taste of red meat. Now, fish and fowl, I will eat that until the cows come home. In fact, I will kill it and wear it. I just don't want to eat it.
Yeah, my younger son, Nick, actually, it was kind of funny when he was working with Brian Brushwood that he was actually, they always talked about bacon because Nick never liked bacon either. Speaking of Brian Brushwood, I wanted to mention for those, by the way, you might want to reach out and mention something to Brian. I understand from my son, who keeps in contact with him closely, that for the past 2 or 3 weeks, I guess, he and his wife both have got the virus. And so they've been having the shakes and diarrhea and I guess haven't been doing well. So just keep them in your thoughts and prayers then as well. There are a lot of things that I want to kind of start. And one of the things, by the way, too, that I know that we've been talking about over the last few weeks have been having to do with virtual shows and things like that. And I know that each of us have our own ideas and how we've been implementing this. And just before we went on the air, then you, Arianne, were talking. You were talking about having just finished a show and something that they were wanting actually to do for a longer term basis or something.
Yeah. So I never thought of myself as like a Zoom performer, and Paul Draper, he's like, no, you are perfect for Zoom. You've got all the credits. You should be doing, Zoom shows every week. And so I put together this program, and an agent picked it up and sold it immediately. And it's weird because this particular client didn't want a live show. They wanted it pre-recorded, which when you think about it, makes it super easy because now you can record all the little bits and then edit them together and then just show them exactly what you want. So I did Matrix in it because they wanted some gambling stuff. And I had the ability to do a bird production and stuff and have it, further back and and then for the close-up stuff, come right down in onto the pad and show just my hands and the cards. It meant that I could do really personal pieces,
Right.
that were just for the company. The company had specific colors, so I could use those. And yeah, it really surprised me how it wasn't easy, but how effective you could really make a show on Zoom. And so I know that David and Oscar have been doing things on Zoom too.
Yeah, in fact, I was going to ask you, Oscar, that you've been doing some things. I think some school shows.
Yeah, I've been. I was really reluctant to get on Zoom, or they're using something called Google Meets, and some of the districts don't allow the teachers to get on Zoom. So I was kind of reluctant. Really, like magic should be done live. Should be, and
That's your philosophy, that magic should be done live and not.
yeah.
virtually.
It's really hard for me because I use I say 87% of my stuff is all audience participation, interaction with the audience, allowing the audience to. It's not a show where kids just sit down and watch the magician. It's interacting and getting my as a theater guy, getting the energy from the audience. And it's here when you're just performing on a little screen, you're not getting anybody other than doing this, which is not supposed to mean clapping. Yeah, it's really hard to get any vibe or how you doing. So I'm giving it a shot, and I've been booking shows. They don't start until like the end of October. I've done some where it's pre-recorded, and I sell the rights to them for they can watch it online. But to Arian's point is, you get to be better. If you don't like it, you re-record it, edit it, take that out, and I do a 45-minute presentation. It's all pre-recorded.
Well, that was one of the things, of course, Arian, you were saying yours was pre-recorded, right?
Yeah, this particular show was. I do have a version where it's more interactive for Zoom, because you can do things like the card sword. That can be done on Zoom. One of the things that I really like about it is that instead of bringing one person up on stage and letting them inspect things, you can bring things right up to the camera and show people. It's like, hey, look, here's this donut, and we're gonna do whatever with it. You can, and so people really get to see it. They can see inside the magic bag before you do something with it. And I find that adults really respond to that. I don't know why.
Dave, I know you've been doing a lot of actual, not just virtual shows, but you've been doing your shows live. So you can tell us a little bit about what you've been doing there.
About do what? What I've what?
About the live shows that you've been doing. You haven't been doing virtual shows.
No, Scott, I heard you the first time. I just wanted to hear it again. And I can hear so well because I'm using my new Hear All hearing aid. And if any of you have any problems, might want to talk to them and get one of those hearing aids. I'm using this monetized thing, Scott. I need to make some money. So here's the thing. I am doing live shows. And Oscar and I, and you were talking about this before we started. And it's kind of one of those situations where in the magic community, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't type of thing. You're more damned if you do. And the reason for that is because there are a lot of people that have real strong opinions on it. And I absolutely get that and respect it. And I told you when I first started it, I called the CDC and the lady started laughing. She said, "You're the first entertainer that has called us." Oh, very nice. That has called us. That has called us. And I said, "Really?" She said, "Yeah, there's people that are packed into clubs and this and that." So we're doing it where it's all set up on the Tix app. And when they buy their seats, for instance, if 4 people buy together, a family, they get to sit together. But the app immediately puts 2 seats on either side of them out. And then there's 6 feet behind each aisle. So now you go down from a room that'll hold 95 to 100 and you're only doing 48 people. And that's the part. I got a chance to listen today to your interview that you had with
Ben Jackson.
Ben Jackson. Yes, I'm sorry. And great guy. And he was right. He's talking about hauling all the stuff. You got to remember, the last show I did was at WinStar Royal Casino. It's 3,100 people. I got on stage. We did our rehearsal. We did our stuff because you knew about the show. And get off, and then I'm finished. Got the AV guys, you got sound, you got backstage, you got 21 people backstage working stuff, bringing people onto the stage, the whole 9 yards. And you just take that for granted, man. Barbara and I hauled everything up to the Fort Worth Club. We got there at 4 that afternoon, the first time to set everything up. And we had 48 people, 50 actually, so 2 extra. And we didn't get home till 1:30 in the morning. And, you know, I was really worn out and tired. But, Scott, the thing is, I was tired, but I wasn't as tired as I'd have been. But because the reason I have is because a lot of men out there, you know, I get tired easy. But I don't anymore because I go to the Men's Health Institute where I get TRT. You need to check that out. It's good for depression, and it makes you the man that you once were.
So it sounds like that you are really monetizing this as best you can.
I'm doing the best I can, Scott.
So I understand, like with podcasts, that's something that is also hard to monetize as well. So what about the seating, by the way? What is the website, or where can people go if you are like
www.davidmcgee.com? And the seating is done through Tix. My buddy Mike Hammer helped me out with that. And by the way, I did the same thing. And this is what's so beautiful about our community. And I'm very grateful for it. I mean, maybe, you know, I've mellowed, but the older I get, the more I appreciate this. I called Paul Kozak, Steve Crowdoffer up in Boston. They have Four-Handed Illusions. Paul Gertner, Steve Cohen's talked with me. And they've all been so helpful because this was a new animal for me. I mean, never sold tickets, never had to worry about it. Man, you talking about stress. And the thing I was teasing about the monetization, but everything is now done, man. When we all started, I think all of us can say this. We started, it was print, magazine, newspaper, TV, radio. None of those things are relevant anymore. It's all the social media. And it's like you live on this social media to get people to follow you and to build an audience, because sooner or later you're going to run out of all your friends and acquaintances. And the first 3 shows sell out. And then you're like, how's anybody going to know about this? So that's the toughest thing. That's the toughest hurdle that I'm finding right now.
Well, it all has to do, I think, with marketing and using the social media to your advantage and trying to get as much as you can over there then too. By the way, that Ariane, that there appear to be a couple of questions that someone, I believe that Harriet Jacobson said she was going to be getting her shrimp tomorrow for her class. And also that someone was asking you, let me see if I can find where that was. Something about if you're going to share your donut recipe.
Well, this one is, you know, but I am going to have so if people don't know this, I have a twin sister.
No,
and,
that worked great for your illusions, I think.
You know, you would think so, but we're fraternal, which means that it's 2 eggs that were fertilized at the same time. So we have a lot of the same genetic material, but we don't look alike. But she is a professional baker. And she is actually going to be coming on one time and doing a bread class.
Wow. That sounds interesting. A bread class. Okay. Well, listen, another thing that I would like to mention is that I know that there is also a common interest that we have with our knowledge and friendship with Johnny Thompson. I wanted just to show a quick video over here before I break in over here and talk with Dave about this.
Hi, my name is Johnny Thompson, and I've been in magic for over 74 years. Worked for people like Lance Burton, Chris Angel, Penn and Keller, Siegfried and Roy, and David Copperfield. And I have to tell you that in my 74 years, I've seen a lot of medalists, but Dave McGee's initial effect, where he divines initials written and tells someone the very name they're thinking of without ever seeing the initials, is the closest thing I've ever seen to real mind reading. It's a mind-blowing effect.
Ah, man, it's tough to hear him.
Which is amazing. He said that about me too, which was I don't have a video of it, but he said the same thing for $225.
I told him I wouldn't feed him that night, and I'd kick him out of the house.
But you used to talk to him on a regular basis, and before we began, then Ariane was saying that you'd be talking with him and taking lessons, and he'd be getting a phone call from you.
Yeah, it was literally almost every day, every other day, easily for 10 or 12 years. Because when we started, we pitched the show. When we pitched the show originally, we had WinStar, the casino, come down, and it was for something totally different. And then when I found out I was going to do the other deal, then I brought Johnny in. I told him, if we're going to do this, I'm going to bring in the top consultant, and I brought Johnny in, and it was so great. I'll tell you a real quick funny story about Johnny. The very first time he ever stayed at my house, and I'd known Johnny for 10, 12, 14 years before that, because he worked with me when I first started out doing trade shows in Las Vegas. And I always told him, one day I'm going to have a show and I'm going to have you. And I'm sure he just felt like, well, what a nice kid. So Johnny comes up to me one night and he says, what time are we going to go to the casino? And I said, well, we're going to leave and go. He'd always come in a day or two early and stay for 2 or 3 days at the casino, do the show, and then stay for the next day. I'd take him back to the airport. And so I had a lot of time with him, and because we were doing these 8 to 10 of these a year. And so it's 3 or 4 or 5 days together each time. So he says, I said, Johnny, we're going to leave at 8 o'clock in the morning. He goes, 8 o'clock in the morning? I said, yeah, because, Johnny was a night guy. And he says, okay, well, wake me up, Dave, at 6 o'clock. Because if you knew Johnny, he had to get ready, had to get everything done, and all the stuff, the sideburns done, everything. And he was meticulous. So he goes to close the guest room door, and he was staying in the guest house, and he went to close the door, and he opens it and he stops and he says, hey, Dave, you do know that this is a hairpiece, right? And I was, what are you going to say? Of course, I knew it was. I had to act like, I said, no, you're kidding. Oh, yeah, it's the best in the business. I go to a guy in Los Angeles. I said, okay, Johnny, well, no problem. He says, well, I just wanted to tell you, because when you meet me in the morning, don't be surprised when you bring me coffee if it's Peter Boyle. And I went, Peter Boyle? So I go in the next morning, and I knock on the door. Johnny? And I heard the TV, because Johnny was entertaining folk. That's what he always told me. He and Pam had traveled all over the world, so they'd sleep in the hotel late in the morning, and families were getting up. He didn't want to get disturbed, so he'd leave the TV on. So I hear the TV. I knock. Johnny. Nothing. I'm thinking, oh, my God. I'm going to be known as the guy that Johnny died in his house. And magicians are going to hate me. This is it. Lance will be, Dave, you killed Johnny. So I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I knock real hard, nothing. I open the door. There's Johnny laying on top of the bed. And if you knew Johnny, how do you put this? Johnny slept in the nude. And Johnny was laying Johnny Thompson, the great Tom Sony, right there. And all of a sudden I yelled, and he goes, yeah. And he gets up, comes to the door. I almost died laughing. It was Peter Boyle. I mean, no hair was. I couldn't believe it. Didn't have the teeth. So it was. That was my story. That I was scared that Johnny was gonna, die in my house. So it was horrible. He was the king. He was the best. I miss him horribly. I mean,
here's the first time I met Johnny. This is when I had hair.
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy. Now, was that your real hair, or was that your piece?
That was my real hair. And that's the first time was Gatlinburg, Tennessee. It's, I think 2002.
Wow.
Tommy Wonder.
Yeah.
Wow. Those that's good fond memories. I mean, it's when he told me, he said, you're pretty good, kid. Where are you from? The first time I ever met him. And as I'm coming out of the theater, Tommy Wonder was smoking a cigarette, and it was snowing. And he also asked me, I just saw you work. You're pretty funny. You're really good. Where are you from? I gave my story. And then he said, Johnny's coming out. So Johnny came out, and I saw Johnny, and it's like I remember seeing Johnny on Dick Cavett's show.
Yeah.
Growing up, and so he says, "Hey, would you like to go with dinner with us?" And I try to play it really cool, like sure. And I said, "I have my stuff. Do you mind if I just drop it off in my room, and then I'll meet you guys at the restaurant?" And he goes, "No, we'll meet you there." And oh my God, like I was really cool. I opened the door, closed the door, like, oh my God, he's asking me to go to dinner with him. And it was like the first time, I was like, holy shit, he's asking me to go to dinner with him. It was really cool.
Wow. Are you guys hearing that?
Oh yeah,
There we go. I got rid of that. I think Dave had clicked something and he was coming back on the.
Am I done? I'm gone. Am I gone now?
Yeah, you are. So sorry, we're back again. So carry on there, Oscar.
No, it was really, I mean, that's the first time I met Johnny. From then we became really close friends. In fact, when I got the call that he had fallen and that he had some problems, I kind of figured something was really wrong. So I've been to his house a couple. He taught me the egg bag routine. So some of his moves. I had a great time with Johnny. I mean, he knew everything.
And Ariane, also that you had been working with him a lot, I guess, for what, a Dove routine, or what were you working with him to do?
So I was doing a manipulation act because I'm a Chavez graduate, and he saw my show and he's like, "Why aren't you doing birds?" And I'm like, "Because I don't do birds." And he goes, "Oh, you do now." And the next day he had me over at his house and he's like, "Nope." He goes, "This spot right here in your act, it's already set up to have a bird right here, and you're going to put a bird here, and you're going to put a bird here." And we had birds in the act like a week later. He was so giving with his knowledge and his time. He was this fantastic, amazing human being. And I lived like right around the corner from his house. So he and Pam used to have me over all the time. They'd have me over to drive John here and to take them there and to help them with their computer. But I mean, every time I went over to their house, they were always so willing to share everything they had. They're just the most amazing people. And I consider myself one of the luckiest people in the world to have been able to spend the amount of time that I did with them.
Didn't you say also that Pam is doing okay, or that she's now doing some Zoom meetings, I think, with people?
She's not doing Zoom meetings. She's doing FaceTime calls and or Messenger. And so people who know her really well are calling her, and I know that I talk to her at least once a week. People who know that she has Alzheimer's, but she's at the beginning of it and she's doing pretty well. And she's so lucky to have a group of people around her who love her and have known her forever. So, she's living with Stephen Mullica, and
right.
Tom and Stephen lived with John and Pam they shared a house when they all lived in LA. So for her, it's just like, just like living in LA with Stephen.
Right.
And yeah, it's amazing. Sometimes just the right thing happens. We don't know why, but it does. But I was going to share this photo that I have of John from an FF.
Yeah, hold that up a little bit higher over there. And it looks like Anthony Brahms over there. And so hopefully everybody can see that photo that you're holding. So can you tell me who it is that's all on there? I see Patrick Page and just Ali Bongo.
So Patrick Page, Tony Bahamas, Jerry O'Connell, Alex Amsley, Johnny Thompson, Ali Bongo, Roger Burnham, and Terry Guyett.
Reverse.
Wow.
And so, yeah, none of these people are alive, but it's amazing to look at a photo like this. And John wrote, the only reason I know who is in it is because John wrote the names of all of those people.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he gave you that photo?
I went to his house after he had passed away and Pam had moved out. I had already started moving up to Canada because my parents were 89 and 90 and having a lot of health issues, and my sister needed help with taking care of them. And the day that I got here, my father was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And I went back down to the to Vegas. John collapsed, and I got to spend time with him at the hospital. And then I found out that he passed while I was driving up, and then my father died like a week later.
Wow. Wow.
It was a bad week.
Wow.
Here's the last picture I had with Johnny.
Oh, I love that. With Pam in there too?
Yeah.
Where was that?
That was in San Antonio.
Oh, at the TAOM convention?
Yeah, when he was honored. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had gone back down like a month later, and Gabriel, who was Lance Burton's costumer, who's also one of the people that is helping with Pam, and she said to me, there's not a lot left at John's house, but is there something that you want? And so I went over, and that photo was in a box, and nobody had wanted that photo. And I looked at the photo, and I'm like, holy crap. I mean, when I looked at the people that were in it, I was like, yeah, I want that photo.
You know, he was used to be in the Harmonicatones?
Harmonicats.
Harmonicats, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yep. Well, I have a harmonica that's signed by Johnny, and then he gave me this picture.
Wow.
Wonder who the other two guys are.
I have no idea, but I know that's Johnny.
That's back in Chicago days, I guess.
Yeah.
I've got it written down who those two guys are.
Yeah, you gotta let me know, Dave.
Yes, I do. And the reason my father,
such an amazing career.
Yeah.
Oh, it was amazing because one night he and I sat up and played. I learned to play harmonica from my father. My father was an Irish tenor and was a comic in Ireland, Belfast, during the war. And before they came to the United States, my dad wanted to be a full-time entertainer, but he was a great harmonica player, and he taught me how to play. So Johnny and I played. I pulled down my bass one night. I've got it in there. I've got 20 of them. And we sat out in there and I recorded it. I've got to dig that up. I've actually got a bunch of stuff recorded. Sometimes Scott will have to look at that stuff, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty neat stuff.
Well, yeah, I'd like to hear that. I have heard some rumors that people said, no, he was not part of the Harmonicats. And it's like, yeah, he was. I mean, he was just there. Apparently, there were a number of people who came and went from the Harmonicats, and he was just one of them.
Well, he started back with them with Jerry Murham back then early, the shorter guy, and did a little with them. But yeah, if you go on the internet, gosh, I got to find that. I'll send it to you guys and show you. I think those two guys, Oscar, the guys that he reunited with on the internet somewhere, you can find it. Johnny Thompson playing the harmonica. They surprised him or something in Chicago, and he went in for something, and the two guys came in and they all got together and played for the first time.
Wow. I asked Johnny his music. I was a lot of theater. I also did, believe it or not, I played Dr. Drosselmeyer on stage for ballet and stuff. And I asked him about his music that he used at da-da, 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 da-da. That's part of this Nutcracker Suite. And he just took it and he rearranged it.
Yes.
So it was amazing talking to Johnny and getting. I mean, the best parts about Johnny was his stories that he would tell you, and then he would like, that doesn't look good. Listen,
the worst thing in the world was to be seated by Johnny at something that was like either a magic convention or where somebody was performing.
Oh yeah,
because he did not. Tom Mullico's the same way. They did not spare anything. I'll never forget sitting by him one night in a deal, and he spoke so loud, and he said, "Oh my God, he's awful. He's just awful. He has no business doing this." Oh, it was hilarious. I felt so sorry for the guy.
So did you know that Johnny, with the music arranging, that the music that Channing used, John wrote and arranged?
All of it.
All of it.
Yep.
Wow.
Pretty amazing.
He was so multi-talented.
Well, he was without a doubt 100% the greatest living in our time, living general practitioner. He knew something about every facet of entertainment. He would jokingly say to me things sometimes, and I thought he was kidding one night. And he said, "Yeah, I taught Arsenio get a call from one of the guys in Vegas one night. And he said, watch this so-and-so show. Arsenio, Penn and Teller are going to surprise him. Johnny comes walking out on stage. Arsenio freaks out. I'm like, oh my gosh, he wasn't kidding me. He knew everybody. And I'm going to go as far as to say this. We talked about this because I said to Johnny when he went down a little bit, when he started having the aspirating in the lungs the last year, I said, Johnny, who would you think would best fill your shoes if there's anybody that could, when you leave? And didn't mean die, but I meant retire. He said to me, David, I think, in my opinion, the person that would be closest to me to do the best job for you, that I think will be the next general practitioner of magic, and I think all you guys will agree with me, was Charlie Fry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I immediately called Charlie and I told Charlie Fry, you've seen some of the stuff from Charlie, but I don't think people know the depth that Charlie Fry knows on stage, on setting, on lighting, on music, on comedy. And he comes up to me on stage and for the last 2 years has been our consultant before the pandemic and will be when we come back. But my word, some of the stuff that he showed me and taught me, oh my goodness!
The little stuff that he's placed on Facebook, yeah, you just like, oh my God, that was awesome. Very talented, very. I mean, I'm always at odds watching Mr. Fry. I mean, I've met him a couple of times, but we sat down in dinner once. Yeah, and I'm always amazed that he's anything. He can do anything.
Several years ago, whenever I was president of the Texas Association of Magicians, I was talking to Stan Allen just about some suggestions, and he said Charlie Fry, and I said, Charlie who?
I know.
This was, again, I was president in 2000 in Dallas. Anyhow, the point is, he said he can do it all. And I booked him, and he lectured, performed, close-up stage, stand-up, comedy. The guy does absolutely everything. Charlie is amazing. I tried to get him on as a podcast, and he was a little bit reluctant, and I got a little bit of him, and he said he would only do it if I can get Bill Malone. And so I said, okay, so Bill and Charlie were both on at the same time, but he's very, as good as he is on stage, he's just kind of a shy guy,
Yeah. Well, first when I asked him, I thought he was going to say like Paul Richards or something like that. And that really shocked me. But now here's the thing. Seriously, though, isn't it odd, though, how they parallel each other? Because now this is Johnny himself telling me. Everybody knew Johnny as the great Thompsonian and everything. But it wasn't, Ariane, I think probably in his late 50s or 60s that Johnny started being known as this great card guy, slight guy. He knew it all before, but he never had really, he did his act. And it's what he always told me. His advice to me, which I never understood, was always just focus on the show, stay away from everybody else. It's like, wait a minute, you're Johnny Thompson. You didn't do that. But it's like, just focus on your show. But the similarities between him and Charlie at the times they're kind of coming in. And I think that Charlie, after this especially, is going to explode the magic scene. That's just, again, my opinion. And by the way, you're never going to meet a finer human being in your life. He and Sherry both, salt of the earth.
Yeah, they're both wonderful. Nope.
Yeah. And so, yes, Dave, you're right. John kind of hit that close-up stride in his 60s. He'd been doing it for years, and he'd been doing a lot of that in his corporate, when he would do the convention floor. He would start out with his chop cup and go into some of the other close-up effects. People didn't know that. People just saw him, or magicians just saw him on stage.
Yeah.
But he was supplementing his income with a lot of corporate work.
Well, you know what's funny is I had one time, Oscar, you'll remember this guy, Moore and Scott. I don't know that Arian will, but kind of an underground guy for Texans. But towards the end, I had Johnny Thompson and Jared Koff and some guys over to the house for lunch one day. My wife cooked everybody dinner, and I brought in Bob White. And to have Bob White and Johnny Thompson sit there, and it was like, well, you know, I talked to Charlie one time, and Charlie told me that the egg goes in the bottom. Yeah, but you know that old son of a bitch. Let me tell you something. For God's sake, now let me tell you, he didn't know what the hell he was doing. No, that was wrong. And to hear these two guys go back
over the egg bag, over the bag,
over the egg bag, I'm like, well, I'm just sitting here dumbfounded by these two amazing guys. You know, we've been blessed in Texas to have some really fantastic giants, and a lot of them have been underground.
Well, you got to include Walter and Zany Blaney, Bill Palmer, Roger Klaus. Texas.
Roger, yeah.
Great.
Oscar Munoz.
Yeah. Okay. No, those are the guys that I remember seeing at TAUM all the time.
Yes.
Roger, Johnny Brown.
Magic's fun. I love magic. Magic's fun. You like magic?
Wow, that's fantastic. That sounds just like him.
I remember one time I came up to Johnny Brown. He goes, how you doing? I said, Johnny, I said, man, I really love that. And here's the funny part about Johnny. A lot of people didn't know this. A little trivia. Johnny did the balls from the mouth. I bet you know this, Oscar. Johnny would do the balls from the mouth. The first move when he put the balls in was a double move. He put the ball in and took his false teeth out in the same move and put them in his pocket so he could do the routine. And then he'd finish doing the deal, and he'd go, hey, magic's fun. And you like magic? Let's play. Come on, magic's fun. I said, okay, Johnny, that's
what these bitches. Well, the best part of Mr. Brown is like in the room, like when we all got to, when the convention was, everybody went to bed. It was just, he would have me in stitches. I'd be like laughing my ass off on little things that he would do. And you sound almost, it's like just listening to him. That was really, you like to do that? You like,
yeah. It was like watching some old CD guy in the corner do magic.
Right. Yeah. Magic trick you like.
My favorite part for Johnny was when he'd had that box and he'd say, I got a little dog in this box. You're going to find a card. And he'd reach down there and this tail like this long would come out and hang down the box. You go, that's his tail.
I still miss those days. Those were like the people that you either just read about or you heard about. And when you got to see them and perform in real life, in real time, it was like more than what you expected. It was like, oh my God, it was amazing.
Isn't it funny? We sat at those people's feet and just learned, and I don't get me off in the wrong direction. I just wish there was more of that, where guys today, younger guys, were so hungry to learn from.
Yeah, you wouldn't question. You would just sit there and watch. You would like sit at, like you said, sit at their feet, and you would like learn the stuff. It's like when I met his name escapes me off the top. It was just like watching, and you wouldn't dare not say anything. You did like just watch, learned, and then you were like, okay, can I ask a question? Nowadays, kids are different. Kids they interrupt you. Why you have a better move, and what do you think about this? And like, oh, okay.
So I have this story about John. So I'm a scuba diver. I love scuba diving. And John was working with this magician with this underwater fish routine. And he goes, yeah, we're going to produce these cod, and then we're going to produce the alligator, and then we're going to produce an octopus. And I'm like, how are you doing that? And he starts to explain. I'm like, no. I understand the method. I said, but you've just described freshwater fish and octopus are saltwater. And he looks at me, and so you guys know John. He looks at me and he goes, I'm working with the best people, and we already have that covered, and you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, whoa. I said, it's just there's octopus are freshwater, and you can't mix freshwater. And he goes off on me again. And so a week later, he calls me at like 1 a.m, and he goes, I'm calling to apologize. He goes, you just made me the smartest man in the room. So they didn't know that you couldn't mix freshwater with saltwater. And so they would produce the octopus and it would die. And then they tried it again. And when it would die, it would squirt ink and mess up the water. So they had to empty the tank, clean it out. And so John goes up to them and goes, well, is this a freshwater octopus? And they're like, no, it's saltwater. And he goes, oh, well, and he didn't tell them that I had told them.
No.
But
he wouldn't.
But he, John wasn't necessarily noted for apologizing, but yeah, I mean, he just, took the information that I'd given him and he ran with it. He's like, you made me the smartest person in the room. I love you. But that was the other thing. John always ended a conversation with people that he knew with, I love you.
I missed the kiss when I'd pick him up at the port. I missed the kiss on the lips. He didn't go for the cheek. He went for the lips. I love you, pal. The thing that he left me with every single time, he put his hand on my face, both hands, and he'd say, we did a really good job. I love you, pal. And he'd give me that big old kiss with the white stuff on the ends of his mouth.
So when I would call the house, he would, if Pam answered the phone, she would go, oh, Johnson, it's your girlfriend.
Yeah, it's a good Pam.
Yeah.
I remember when we first met Pam, Gatlinburg, Tennessee. We're working stage, and Pam, even now, she does a strip change off stage, and I did not know this. So I'm watching Johnny perform, and I'm going, oh, this is amazing. And I turn around to get something, and I saw Pam just drop.
Butt naked.
Yeah, and I'm like, holy! Like, oh, have you seen it once? You've seen it all. They're all the same. like, no, Pam, not your legs. Those are great legs. It was like she had dancer legs. I mean, she had like beautiful legs. I'm like, oh my God, I just sinned.
Johnny, and let me tell you something. Johnny was very proud. He loved, every night he would call her and tell her everything that happened with the show, whole thing. And Arian, you know this, he would always tell everybody, Dave, my wife, I don't care how old she is. She's got the best in the business.
Oh, the love that, he had for Hayes was beautiful. And so Hayes was his nickname for her. He always called her Hayes, which was her maiden name. But yeah,
we were both.
It was beautiful. It was
and
beautiful.
You know what?
They were the Bickersons, and they would fight all the time, but they fought out of love.
But you know what? And there's a lot of people listening to this and thinking, well, man, they must have known him well. Here's the amazing thing. There are hundreds and hundreds of people. Gosh, I would love this to be my legacy one day, who knew this man and woman like we did. This wasn't just to us. I know we'd love to say, man, they were fortunate. And I'll tell you one more thing that have that same relationship. I'll tell you one more odd thing. And I know magicians' heads are going to explode right now when I say this. Of all the times he came for 12 years, 8 times a year and 4 to 5 days each time, we might have sessioned one time.
Huh.
And the reason was I wanted to get all the old stories, all the marriage, all the old stuff. We sat and we talked about stuff. And I'm sure he shared a lot with other people too, but I got some recorded stuff that's just absolutely.
Well, I think Johnny made everybody feel that way. I mean, even if like the first time you met him, you were his, friend, you know.
Yes.
And he only allowed you to know what he wanted you to know about him. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying is he had his tight circle. I wouldn't say that I was in his tight circle. You know, I did talk to him a lot. I did not call him. I still have his number, but I would not call him, you know, just to talk to him or anything like that. You know, if I needed something or if he knew of something, I might call him, but I wouldn't like, oh, I know him personally. I think he only allowed you a certain part to know of him. And I mean, he was like a legend. I mean, I haven't erased his number. I still have his number on my phone.
I took him in my phone too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Scott, the amazing thing too, and Eric can speak to this also. I never shied away from, you know, and I don't push this down anybody's throat. I'm saying it now only because it makes sense. But you know, I'm a Christian and I believe strongly in my faith. I'm a perfect Christian by any means. But Johnny was an atheist, and we never ever once had an argument about their fight. My father, before he died, Johnny would stay. My dad would always say the prayer. He'd hold Johnny's hand, dinner, pray. He would look at my father and say, "Thank you, Mr. McGee." There are a lot of atheists that wouldn't have done that. We know some. And so his respect, and that's what he taught me. And that's why I think I've aged out of that a little better. And I'll say one last thing, and I know that he would have wanted me to say this. I know this because we really talked about this about someone else. Johnny told me that one of the greatest relationships that he almost lost was with Charlie and Sherry Fry. And the reason that happened was this, because someone in the magic community had gotten in and told him, they're stealing your act. They're doing you and Pam's act. It's a good, and he went off. Those were the days when he'd tell you he'd go off. He'd fly to Chicago to rip some guy's head off for ripping him off a Dove show. And so it really upset him. Went for a long time. One day, a bunch of people were sitting around. I remember Lance and Fielding said they were there. I'm over there. He saw their show the night before. He stood up talking about the apology. He went over. He had tears in his eyes, and he stood in front of Charlie and Sherry, and he begged them to forgive him. And he said, "I'm so sorry. I did something horrible. I listened to someone and I shouldn't have. Your act is tremendous." And all of it. And they became like kids to him. And to the end, were like kids and took care of him with Steven and them also. And one last thing, he had told me, because he and I got in an argument about a magician. And I said to him, "Johnny, I can't dislike this guy because he hasn't done anything to me. Remember the Charlie?" And he turned to me and he said, "You know what, Dave? You're right. You're absolutely right." He said, that's a good lesson. So Johnny knew how to apologize. And that's something I think we can all learn from, that one deal. And it's a good opportunity that if people have had something in the past, to bury it, because it's not really worth it. And that's
especially but we're in the situation right now. I mean, 200 and something people gone. I mean, this is a time where there's sometimes you're just like, is it really worth it getting angry at stuff that doesn't really make any? I mean, just
yep.
I've done those calls. I've called some of my some people that I felt that I did wrong to.
Yes.
And I apologized and asked for the forgiveness.
Absolutely.
Because you never know.
Yeah. Well, right now, I guess during Rosh Hashanah, they just had the Day of Atonement and everything here recently, which you're supposed to ask for forgiveness. And so, yeah, I think that it's important that we do that actually every day, that we should kind of stop and forgive people. Thank you. Thank you for your friendship. And I forgive you for whatever wrongs that we may have had.
Because in magic, I mean, everybody invented everything. Like, I invented the thumb tip and nobody gave me credit. And I'm like, I said,
right.
You know, this would just, and, you know, no. Do I get calls? No.
Never.
Yeah. Never. And you know what? You know what, Oscar? You and Scott and myself and Arian, we've all been sitting around and we've been watching the bills pile. We've been watching the dirty clothes pile. And you know what? Piles aren't great. So if you ever have any issues or problems, you're sitting around, this is what I go to. It helps me. It's not really, it's odor free, and I recommend it highly. Preparation H.
Okay. Boy, you really are pouring on.
How much are you getting out of that one?
Yeah. How much are they paying you for that?
$8.
$8. Is that per?
You know, that's how dancers get rid of the wrinkles.
Crow's feet.
Yeah.
Yep.
I put it on before we started.
Yeah.
So John Pullum asked there, Dave, if you can do any other impressions of other people.
Do what? I'm sorry.
I said, Dave Pullum said, can David do any other impressions?
Oh man, listen. One of these days, I've talked to somebody about this. My buddy Harrison Carroll, and I'm putting together an act that's going to be a lot of different magicians over the years. I mean, trade show guys, Joel Bauer. Joel, how are you doing? I'm doing very well. I'm a good-looking man. I'm a very good-looking man. I've made millions of dollars. So I've got him. I've got a ton of them that I've worked on over the years, and I'm going to put it together one of these days and do an act for one of the conventions.
Well, I hope that you do. Harrison came in and said he does a ton of impressions. So,
well, yeah, Harrison, he's the best. Listen, that's one of my great buddies. Traveled and did trade shows with him, and man, one of these times you should get Harrison. You know Harrison Scott, don't you, from 4F?
Well, we're good friends. Have been for years. I love Harrison.
Yeah, he's
I love the fellow. Yeah, he had an idea a while back that was really good that I can recommend. That was something to do with the. I'm sure he's going to post this in just a minute, but the idea was where you hang these numbers on there and they all equal your prediction or something. It was a great idea,
That's right. Yeah. No, he was. I'll tell you, in the trade shows, he was the guy. I tell people all the time that I owe it all because he helped me. Another one of those guys, Oscar. You go back, showed me his contract, told me quit wearing a tux. I mean, you know what? We owe so much to these people. And so many of them have gone. And so when they're not, you get the opportunity to tell them, we're really blessed to have this camaraderie. And I just wish more people would recognize it.
I had just met a guy. I did a lecture and a show, and the guy was really nice, super nice, drove me around, everything. And before I left, I gave him a big hug and said, "Love you, man." Gave him a kiss on the side, and he kind of like, whoa, And I said, he says, that's kind of strange. Are you? I said, no, dude, I'm secure with my masculinity. That's kind of affection, I like thanks for doing what you did. Took me to dinner, drove me around where I needed to get some stuff from the instant stuff that we forget. I need some lighter fluid, or I need this and that, a dozen eggs to do the saute egg and stuff. And
was that after you kissed him?
No, that's right before. Okay, we pulled over. It was in a car. It was his car. Yeah. Well, yay, But no, I mean, it's just this to me is like you can go almost anywhere in the world and meet a fellow magician, and it was almost like instant friendships.
Yeah.
And like you go to Mexico. I was invited to a convention in Mexico. I did not pay anything. I mean, they flew me in. I did my work. They paid me a check. But at the same time, they would, oh, no, it's on us. They would dinner. I was like, no, it's on us. So everywhere you went, I think, I have two really good friends in London, in the UK. I mean, even when I was there, it was just like, oh no, you're going to go with us.
Wonderful. It's an international, Barbara and I go each year for the entire month of December and a week of January to the Grand Moon Palace in Cancun. And have been doing that 3 or 4 years. My buddy Paul Ponce, the great juggler that's been at Magic Live several times, steals the show with the hats.
The hats? Oh my gosh, he's fantastic.
Yeah, Paul's one of my dearest friends, and he steals the show. He's so fantastic, sweet guy. And he hooked me up with that deal, and we have the most amazing time. I've made such great friends there with Fernando, who's a mentalist, and Sebastian Perrin. Some of these great, just the most humble, sweet guys, and they just want to learn from us. And so it really is an international brotherhood. I just hope that the younger people will start. Gosh, I can't believe I'm this age now saying these things.
I know.
The younger people, though, that's my fear that these things are going to kind of slowly go away because there's so many young people that aren't involved. And I don't know. Maybe that's a dilemma. I don't know if they're.
My wife and I run the competition for the International Brothers of Magicians every year for the last, I believe, 5 years.
Right.
And I've developed friendships with these guys and gals, by the way, who are coming up in magic. And it is a really cool thing to see. Shim Lim, I remember Shim when he was 15 years old, and now look at him. Ruben Moreland. These are the guys that they were coming up, and they're doing what they love to do. And some of these gals too that are. I'm amazed at the level of magic that they're in. But I wish I had that information when I was growing up. I mean, we gotta go seek for it.
So let me just say that when I was younger, people made a definite point to let me know it was a brotherhood and not a sisterhood.
Right.
But that is slowly changing, and people are now more open to a female magician. I'm currently working on a book of female magicians that goes back into the 1600s, and it's a coffee table book. But you know, because people come up to me and they go, "Oh, you're the first female I've ever seen. You know, you must be the very first one." But I'm not. There's been so many female magicians throughout history. For whatever reason, they've been forgotten and pushed aside.
Sure.
And so I thought, okay, if I do a coffee table book, then I can just show, the basics of the female magicians that have been around for all of this time and just forgotten. But these new girls that are coming up, they're, they're really making a name for themselves, and more television shows are interested in using female magicians, and there's more openings for them. One of the things that I'm hoping with magic conventions, because when I was younger, I would call and say, "Hey, I see that you've got a magic convention. I'd love to be one of the acts." And they would say, "Oh, we already have a female doing close up." And I'd say, "Oh, well, I do a stage act." And they'd say, "No, we already have a female." At which point I'd say, "Well, do you already have a male magician?" And so, but those things are slowly starting to change.
Yes.
And I'm really thrilled to see that. With some of the older people, it's still a brotherhood, but I've had, let me just say, as a female magician, I've had an amazing career. I've met some of the most amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. My first convention, one of the people that I met was the real Mandrick the friggin' magician.
Wow.
And I just thought he was a comic book character, and to find out that he was a real person, and that he was Canadian, and I was just like, wow. When I was working on my card routine, John's like, "You need to put interlock back into your cards." Now, John didn't do card manip, but he's, was helping me with the routine. And so I went to Norm Nielsen, and Norm's like, "Yeah, I'll teach you my interlock." And, to think about things like that, it's amazing. It's amazing how open and welcoming some of these big stars in magic were towards me.
Yeah. Wow, that's good to hear.
Well, listen,
Yeah.
one other thing too, before I forget it, that one of the things we talked about is, I think I first, when I introduced you, is how you're doing some nature photography, Ariane, that you're actually going out and doing a little bit of things, because we're starting to need to wrap up here fairly shortly. But I wanted to get into that. Is that something that I know you're going out like in a kayak and you're taking all these wonderful nature photos. Is that something that you're thinking about doing perhaps in a coffee table book also eventually?
I wasn't thinking about doing my photographs as a coffee table book, but I could. I was given a camera 2 years ago, and I don't know what else to say other than I just, have a natural knack for it. I have a showing that I'm doing, so I have photos. There we go. I have photos like this.
Is that an otter?
No, that's a seal with its baby.
Oh, wow.
I do like, and so that's a great heron.
Great heron. Sure. Okay.
Yeah, with the fish that it's caught. And I don't even have like I only have a 300 millimeter lens. I don't have a bigger lens. And so I actually have to kind of sneak up on the animals and get pretty close to them. And I've been really, I can't say lucky, because with photography, there's a very, very small element of luck to it, but it's timing and patience. And I just have the timing and patience to take these photos. I love it. I love going out on the kayak every day and just discovering nature and taking photos of it.
That's great. You're really not so involved necessarily always working on and planning for your Ariane's kitchen for each Friday, but you're actually or practicing tricks or anything. After this is all over, you're going to be moving back to Las Vegas, I guess?
I don't know. You know, I'm in my 50s, and Vegas, they want to hire people that are 20 something to be on stage. They don't want a 50-year-old woman.
One of younger people. Same
They
thing.
do.
With ships,
Yep.
I think also.
I find the same thing. I don't look like a woman at all. I'm like, oh, Jesus.
No.
Yeah. I tried the makeup, doesn't work. You know.
But you know, Oscar, it's not hard to say stay, Mr. Smooth and Mr. Handsome. And you can do that with Mr. Smooth body and hair wash. You can get it at Walmart. I want to say that I also I didn't know the camera went out and we wanted to shoot some animals. And most people have a big rack in Texas. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't like to be like everybody else, Scott. So this is what I have on my wall. I shot it going over a fence.
Going over a fence. That was the part you cut off.
Yeah, there you go. And that's the part that's on my wall.
You're just an ass.
I know. I actually got that from a taxidermy guy. And when Johnny was in the office with Charlie one time, he looked up and that's what he said. He said, "Mickey, what the heck is that?" I said, "It's a deer. I shot him going over a fence." He goes, "What an ass."
Oh my God, that's funny. Being a Texan, you know how everybody has, I can't go hunting. I'm not that kind
Me
of.
either. Ugh. No, I love animals too much.
Yeah, no, I can't. I just, it's bad enough that I eat hamburgers. It's like, dear.
Well, it's funny when Ariane was first talking about she didn't eat bacon. Me, you, and Scott were sitting there salivating. Texas boys, are you kidding? We wrap everything in bacon.
Bacon burger and everything. Everything goes better with bacon.
Right? I'm like, what? Bacon? Nobody likes bacon? Canadian bacon. Oh my God.
Yeah. When my son said he didn't like bacon, I just thought that was funny. Nothing I could do to change him, but
That's when you go, up, milkman. You're not a Wells unless you like bacon.
All of us, we're rethinking our lives, and we're changing, and we're adapting. And so, we're all trying to figure out what we're going to do next.
It's hard. It is hard, especially with this art of the magic arts.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It makes you think, because I'm 56, so I don't. Yeah, I mean, when you apply you look at the jobs and go like, don't qualify for that. I don't even know what that is. Yeah. No.
Well, Oscar, I can tell you, man, I just turned 60 in June, and 55, 56, no problems. 60, man, just even sitting here, Scott, right? I mean, when you sit here long enough.
I'm already doing that. It's like,
if you are, let me tell you this, Oscar, if you're like me and you get aches and pains, Voltron is what I go to. Don't use Bengay. If you want to get rid of pains and not smell like menthol, use Voltron.
Boy, you're really pitching there, man.
You got the products right at hand, right over
I'm
there.
at $31. I'm at $31 right now.
Lysol. When you feel that you're not as clean as you should be, use Lysol.
Martinis. That's the answer right there, I think, for numbness.
Yes.
Are you losing your teeth? Well, let me one.
Wow. What a treat.
They're coming in. The money's coming in.
Yes. We're monetizing.
Yeah.
Right? If you're a magician and looking for cards, let me tell you what.
That's right.
Exactly. Well, listen, I want to thank you guys very much for being my guests over here then this evening. This has been nothing short of just fantastic. I've had a lot of other comments that have been over here on the chat line that I've not brought over, who have just said this has just been marvelous. It's been a great opportunity to meet with friends. And that's one of the reasons that I like to have this particular conversation, this Magic and Martinis Thursday virtual happy hour, because it's better than drinking alone. I know a lot of people are at home on their own and that they are having a cocktail. And so this is a good way to kind of feel like you're drinking with friends. I certainly feel like that I am. And also renewing friendships that I have had over the years, because when I'm at Magic conventions with you guys, I get a chance to actually visit with you, and we get to talk with each other and have a good conversation, maybe a drink or a meal. And this is the next best thing. And so each week I like to feature different people who are going to be coming in from week to week and going to be guests. And we've got some great guests, by the way. I want to, let's see, who have I got coming in next week that I'm going to have to take a look over here for just a second. For next week, I'm going to have Paul Draper, Dallas Sanders, another Dallas
Texas guy. Yay!
And also Tony Clark. Tony's going to visit with us. Tony's a great guy. And this is going to be another great confluence of characters and friends and people that I really enjoy talking to, just as I have with you. We could stay on here for so much longer. I try to keep this around about an hour or so, because there, again, is so much content that we could have that's out there. And so I want to thank everybody who is out there. And so there were several people that were all just making some nice comments, and I want to thank you guys, very much.
Hey, Scott.
Yes.
One last thing, and I know that Arian and Oscar will join me, and anybody listening, and I mean this seriously. This is a really bizarre time right now, affecting us as entertainers. We've been told that we're not. What is that word that they use? We're not essential. And I think that's the biggest crock. We are essential. Everybody is essential. We're essential to make people laugh and entertain them. I want to thank you, Scott, because I do get to watch your deal. I watch your Magic podcasts and listen to them, and you're always at the conventions. And I do, seriously, I want to thank you personally. I know they all do, and give you a big round of applause for keeping everybody unified and giving us this chance to do this. I appreciate you very much. You're a good man.
I never drank before, Scott, but with you, I tell you what, it's one of those things that I think will keep on going.
And you know what? One last thing, Scott. You know that I've been drinking coffee. I mean, this green tea, tongue, but I don't drink. But if I did, I'd drink ZD wine port. It's sweet. It's appetizing. It's amazing port. You can get it at ZD, www.ZD. There you go.
Well, I'd like to say cheers. Thank you so much for bringing us all together, Scott.
Cheers.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This has really been phenomenal. And again, I enjoy my conversations with my guests every week, and you guys have been just outstanding. And it's just been a lot of fun to talk with. We've had a lot of people who have been on and kind of interacted with us as well. And I thank everyone who is listening, because I know there is so much content out there and opportunities to listen to everything else that's going on each night and every week. And that, I mean, with competition like Netflix and YouTube and other kinds of things that is out there all the time. So the fact that you guys are taking a little bit of time to spend here with us then for a few moments, or at least an hour here each Thursday night, this is great. And I'm so thankful. I'm thankful I've got 10,000 subscribers worldwide on the podcast. And I want to encourage everybody to subscribe to the pod letter. If you don't listen already to the podcast, be sure to subscribe to themagicwordpodcast.com. You can go and you can subscribe to the pod letter, and you can get some more information on what that is all about. And you're going to be able then to hear more of what's happening each week. And this week I happen to feature Ben Jackson. Next week we're going to be, and Ben Jackson you may not know, but he's got a one-man show. Oh. David, we didn't really get to talk much about a whole lot about your one-man show.
You're going to come see it, right?
What's that? I'm sorry. Say it again, Dave.
You're coming to see the show.
I'm going to come up on the 17th. Yep, I'm going to come up on October the 17th, and I want to see the show. And again, that there is so much else that's going on all the time. And so, thank you guys very much for being on here. Ariane, thank you very much. Thank you, Oscar. Thank you, David. This has been great. Next week, as I said, I told you who was going to be on. Next week on the podcast, by the way, I'll tell you I'm going to have Gabe Fiore. I had him on the TAOM whenever I was hosting some of the things. And Gabe is the owner of Potter and Potter Auctions. And he's going to be talking a little bit then about how to make sure that you've got your will set up, and also that you know what's going to be happening with your collection after you have passed. So listen, you guys, thank you again very much for being on here then this evening. And with that, then I'm just going to say, cheers. What have you got there, Dave? You got something else you want to pitch?
It's a recap.
It's a recap of all those items. Be sure to go and check that out, because every click he gets a quarter of a penny. And so for the Magic Word Podcast, that was Ariane, Oscar, and Dave, and this is Scotty out.